Hey, everybody, this is Perch. Experiencing the hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold of a Texas winter, apparently. So, good times. Anyway, I like how Japan had this problem as well, where they set the air conditioning to like, it's going to come on this day, and it doesn't really matter what the weather outside is. And so it's like, hey, it's actually like 36 degrees outside. We got the air conditioning pumping hard because, damn it, it's February 20th, and that's when we have air conditioning. Anyway, it's just, I find that stuff funny. I also think with all the smart technology and everything that does exist, like this is a solvable problem. I know I'm just bitching about kind of nonsense at this point, but there you go. I find the unforced errors, solvable problems, just always rather silly in things. But here we go. All right, what's this mail? Woke should be a genre. All right. It says, "Hey, Perch, hot take maybe. So we're living in an era of woke cinema. No, not Ghostbusters 2016 or Men in Black International. I'm talking about movies that actually acknowledge they are woke. The Blackening, Knives Out, Get Out, Candyman, and so on. And you know what? I'd argue it actually works. There's an audience that likes this, and I'm going to be honest and say I enjoyed all four movies myself. It's satire bordering on parody, it's self aware, and the blackening actually made me laugh. So, what if everyone acknowledges this exists and rather than try and kill it, we actually support it becoming its own genre? A lot of people actually enjoyed some of the Milestone relaunch books. I thought Icon and Rocket had solid issues myself. Projects that say, hey, make no mistake about it, this is a woke story, don't actually seem to go broke as often as you think. Rather, it's the stories written by hacks who don't understand compelling commentary or satire that suck. Find writers who are actually good at social commentary, give them a bigger, more original sandbox to play in, and I think their stuff would do well. That way, they don't have to live vicariously through existing franchises. All right. Well, in many ways, I think you could boil it down to something extremely simple because there's something that was mentioned in this email that is really the key to everything. And it goes like this. Rather than stories written by hacks, find writers who are good. The end. Doesn't actually matter what genre we're talking about. That is universal truth right there. I mean, I think I agree with the premise of this mail, but I think there's a couple, not flaws, but just a couple things in there that I think it just would fail on premise. First of all, it's giving way too much weight to the concept of woke. And the problem with that term is, and people argue up and down, but if you talk to a dozen people and you ask them to define woke, there's a good chance you will get a dozen answers. It is not like superhero or horror or western. It's got a lot of variety to what exactly makes it woke. And you see, plenty of YouTube videos arguing this topic all the time. This is woke. No, that's not woke. This is borderline woke. But I get like that. There was a video I saw the other day. Somebody sent to me that was, is this woke adjacent? And you're like, what the? But as soon as you start putting in adjacent to anything, I think you lost the plot so utterly that you have no idea what's going on. But anyway, I think that woke as a genre would attract all of kind of the wrong attention. I think you would have to, call it something else, be something else. But I think the underlying premise here of, hey, you've got social commentary, you got like the Jordan Peele movies, and generally they've worked out fairly well. Jordan Peele wears what he does on his sleeve. And so, he's giving content that feels different because it largely is different and does have social commentary. But it also happens that whether you like it or don't like it, it's written by a creator that, knows what they're doing and is basically perfecting inside that genre. You may not like the genre, but you can generally respect the work. And so I think that's kind of where that's where you kind of want to go. Have the property, hire great artists and great writers and great people who can actually make it live up to where it should be, and then I think it will take care of itself to some extent. I mean, maybe you need to brand it and everything else. The other thing that you mentioned in your mail is and I truly believe on this, and I think I believe this, but it seems to be a source of argument, is legacy properties that are fully into the world of commercial art need to just be what they are. You can change, you can have lots of storytelling developments, you can have new characters come in and out, you can add new powers, you can do all kinds of things. But changing genre doesn't make a lot of sense. You could toy with some of it. The Hulk has had more superhero runs and more horror runs. But at the end of the day, it is heroes. It is the superhero genre. Even if you look at Al Ewing's Immortal Hulk run, which experimented with kind of body horror and some of these other elements, it still wasn't as horror as it was superhero, I would argue. You have the Avengers showing up. You have a lot of the tropes of the superhero book. I think I think you would be hard pressed to say this is full on horror. I think it still fits within that superhero genre. So I think you can kind of test in that area, but you can't completely distort it. And what I see happening a lot, and I think what people have commented on, is you get something like Spider-Man, and you're like, well, Spider-Man's going to be about social commentary now. And again, you can have arcs or stories if you're into that, but if you start, the entire tone of the book starts to become that, it doesn't work. It's at best it's off-putting. At worst, it actually starts to alienate your current readers, and I think the audience that you're trying to attract just won't come to it. This is the big kind of flaw, and this probably leads some credence to people who say, well, the people who are writing this stuff and kind of changing the property don't really care about sales, or just trying to destroy something else people love. I don't buy into that. I just don't. But if I was to make that case, I would anchor it on this concept of, you walk into Spider-Man, you're going to turn Spider-Man into kind of social justice type commentary, but the flaw in that is it's going to alienate the existing audience, and you are not going to get the new audience. And you're not going to get the new audience because the new audience is going to look at that and go, yeah, Spider-Man, no thanks. And so, it's very hard to pull somebody over going, yeah, I know you're used to Spider-Man being, like a superhero book, but it's not. It's actually tackling social topics, and it's completely different. Like that just doesn't work. People don't, they're tried and true. You can't just get an audience who perceives a kind of, and we're not talking about, say, Miss Marvel that has, 10 years or so of history. You're talking about characters that have 50 years of history and have had, multiple movies and cartoons and media and licenses. It's like, when the character or the property is so hardened in people's minds as being a certain way, you can't just wander into it and then decide, well, now it's something else. You can't play that off. It doesn't work. And I think that's the problem that a lot of comics that try and flip genres have, is that they're doing it. I mean, look, Batman, Superman, it is going to be what's going to be. You can have arcs that, like Batman the Cult, that feels more like a horror thing, and you can have, the Black Mirror storyline, which feels more like detective with, some underlying thriller elements, suspense elements, and you could have something that's more off the wall superhero, like Superman off world or Batman off world. I mean, you can play within the genre, but at the end of the day, Batman is still Batman. And if you start radically altering the very nature of the book, it will be rejected by the existing audience. It's going to be rejected by the new audience want to achieve, because they whether they like it or not, they still have a perception of what Batman is. So it's just like nothing is impossible, but in the spirit of unforced errors and people having their air conditioning on in the winter, you're just swimming heavily against the tide at that point. And so it becomes yeah, you could, but why? If you are 5'4" and have zero athletic ability, I suppose it's possible that you could become a basketball star, but your odds are incredibly low, and you would, unless you have the most amazing passion in the world to want to do this, you're just setting yourself up for massive disappointment constantly. And so I think that a lot of this stuff, like the idea of people saying, hey, we're going to take this existing superhero comic and we're going to make it, whatever your definition of woke is, you know, you could, you own the property, but why? Your odds of being successful are very low. And the only thing you're really going to get out of it is if, there are people who just want to see this property destroyed, they will enjoy the fact that you're, I guess, dunking on the chuds and take something away from them that they loved. And does that keep you warm at night? I don't know. That just seems like such a hollow victory. Like what's even the point of that? Assuming people are trying to do that in the first place. And again, I don't think a lot of people are. I know it's a popular internet theory and everything else, but it just doesn't necessarily wash when you see the behavior. People do like to eat. They like to make money. They like to have popularity. They like the dopamine hit of likes. And, certainly you can experiment with I'm just going to burn everything down and I'll have a couple hundred trolls on Twitter who will applaud me while I'm doing it. But, that fire burns pretty quickly. And then you're left with what? Nothing. And I think that a lot of these properties kind of fit into this. All of it's junk food. It may feel good for a moment, but it's not going to get you anywhere. Anyway, there you go. That's my opinion on all this. Let me know what you think. And would a woke genre or label, etc. work? Again, if you have talented people, anything can work. But the key is talented. Thanks for listening.